2002 in one room in the lower level of what was then the Steiner School in Great Barrington. I've often thought that our school is like those somewhat stunted pine trees that grow near the top of Mount Washington in New Hampshire, where the wind blows so fiercely and all the branches come out one side. So they're hardy, they're strong, but they're a little shorter than average and slightly misshapen. But then I was in Korea for 2 weeks in August teaching high school teachers over there. And I went to a lotus park on the Han River. And I saw not just bonsai trees that are shorter than average, somewhat stunted, but beautifully artistic, but also full-size pine trees, hundreds of years old, that people had groomed and shaped over the years. And I thought, well, that's what we're like. We're like a tree that's been cared for by human beings through tough circumstances, but with kind attention for decades. So that's our past. In our present, we have a high school full of students who have never known a high school year pre-pandemic. The current seniors were in the spring of their freshman year on March 13th, Friday the 13th, when really much of the world shut down, and they did the rest of their freshman year remotely. We returned in person in the fall, but with all kinds of guidelines and protocols. I have a photo of Ms. Steer and me with a tape measure, literally measuring to make sure there was 6 feet between everybody's seat in this building and in the church. We had half the school here and half the school here. So in the present, what I wish for us is a normal school year. I also want to say that our present contains work to get us out of this rented building, which is a little bit small, and into the beautiful white neoclassical building next to the Congregational Church, which we will sign a lease for sometime in the next months, which architects are currently working to design for us. We have raised more than half the money that we need to get into that building. We are hoping to turn the key September 2024. Sorry if you will have graduated and moved on by then. With any luck, that will be our move-in date. We'll see. So we'll be sending you updates through the year, and of course, we will be asking for your support in many, many ways. So that segues pretty neatly into the future. And I just want to mention that one of my very favorite Steiner quotations is about the future. And he's speaking to a group of teacher education students, not Waldorf teachers or Steiner teachers, because when he's giving this lecture, the Waldorf school doesn't even exist yet. There's no such thing in the world as the Waldorf school. Just talking at a school of education to people, young people who are going to become teachers. And he asks the question, who are our students? Who are our students? And he calls the students the undefined rebels of the future who can save us. So, students, you are the undefined rebels of the future who can save us. By undefined means that our crystal balls haven't worked particularly well. Mine shattered in November 2016. Nobody remembers. Anyway, we don't know the future. It's an unknown. You will face it. We'll still be here to support you for a few years, I hope. But I want to add a kind of footnote, which is, there's a movie, it's a classic, which doesn't mean it's very good, it just means it's famous, although my mom had a crush on James Dean, called Rebel Without a Cause, right? You students, you are rebels with a cause. And the cause is yours to choose. We can't tell you what it is. You gotta find it. we're here to help. So, the past, the present, and the future. In front of you, there are 5 candles. The one that's lit is a candle that represents the school. The other candles each represent one of the classes in the school, grades 9, 10, 11, and 12. And I'm going to invite Julia Nunez to speak to the 9th grade, Samantha Steer to speak to the 10th grade, Elizabeth Orenstein to speak to the 11th grade, and Beth Robbins to speak to the 12th grade. And when each of them is done, they will then light the candle for that class, and that sort of signals, metaphorically, the official beginning of the school year for that class. After this assembly, please join us. There's sparkling water in the back. There are the leftover cakes and pastries from the potluck in the back, along with 4 dozen bagels and 4 pounds of cream cheese. So I hope you're hungry. We will have a reception with all of our guests and visitors and take 30 or 45 minutes just to mingle and chat. We can stack the chairs in this room, put away the folding chairs, and get ready for class at the end of that, or during that. If you have a bagel in one hand and stacking chairs with another, that's fine. And before we move on, though, I want to introduce 2 people who are not sitting in the front with the teachers, but who are critically important to our school. That is our CFO, Patrick White, and our board chair, Teresa O'Brien. So if you guys could stand up, please. Many of you, if you signed a contract, which if you're sitting in this room, you probably have, you probably had to deal through email and online with Mr. White and Ms. O'Brien, and they are integral parts of the community of the school, and pleased that they're here this morning, and happy to introduce them. So, without further ado.
Julia Nunez, I teach Spanish and Humanities, and I'm going to be speaking to the 9th grade. 9th graders, good morning. You may look around and wonder where your big class is. Here it is. We have a saying on our school website that says, small school, big world. And it's true, we're a small school, and we prepare you to go into the big world. This is your home base, 9th graders, and you'll have lots of opportunities to go out into the world. And I urge you to take advantage of this. For example, you can join the Shakespeare play, either as an actor or as a technical. And it's a great way to get to know your classmates here. Really great way, because you'll have a lot of late nights together. And then there's a Shakespeare festival from many high schools in the area, and you get to go and see other schools' productions. Next week, our seniors will be going to Hermit Island in Maine, along with Waldorf students, 12th graders from other Waldorf schools. I'm not sure if it's Saratoga, Green Meadow.
About 10 others.
Okay, 10 other Waldorf schools. Really a great way to spend a week with other 12th graders. You'll have an opportunity, if you want to, in the future to do an exchange, 3 months maybe, in Europe or South America. You will have opportunity in the future to take a language trip with us. Last year we went to Germany and Costa Rica, and we will be doing so in the future. And of course we have regular field trips. So there are lots of ways that you can still be on your home base here and be out in the world. And as Mr. Sagrin says, you are very lucky to have what we hope will be a normal school year. And we're hoping that this will help you to become yourself, as it says on our website. No matter who you are, we accept you. We want you to be as who you are. There is a poem by a German-American poet, a 20th century poet. His name is Charles Bukowski. I'm going to read you the last part of it. The gods will offer you chance. Know them. Take them. Your life is your life. Know it while you have it. You are marvelous. The gods wait to delight in you. 9th graders, we are so happy that you chose to come to our school. We hope you have a great year.
Good morning, I'm Samantha Steer. I teach English and history. I'm going to be speaking to the 10th grade. Welcome back. I hope you had a good summer. You are a class of exceptionally talented writers. Each one of you has a unique style and voice. I was truly impressed with the stories you came up with for our short story seminar last year. I recently listened to a TED Talk about creativity by Ethan Hawke, of all people. He made some interesting points about misconceptions we have about creativity. That is something nice and praiseworthy. But he says creativity is not nice, it's vital. It's a way of starting a dialogue, of healing, of asserting common humanity. This year, I encourage all of you to take more chances in your creative work, to express your individuality in writing, to follow what you love without worrying whether others will think it's good. Most of us want everything we produce to be something of quality, something the world will consider important. But ultimately, that's not up to us, and anyway, the world is an extremely unreliable critic. To express yourself creatively, you have to know yourself and know what you love. That takes deep reflection. It also requires you to be willing to share your creative work with others. Don't be afraid to let your talent shine. I hope you have a wonderful 10th grade year.
Good morning, I'm Elizabeth Ornstein. I teach life sciences and arts, and I also run the office. And I'll be speaking to the 11th grade. There you are. I'm so glad to see you here. You are juniors, second only to seniors. You have ascended to the ranks of upper-class persons. Welcome. Every year at this time of year, I'm awed by the high contrast of this season. The asters and goldenrods complement and call forth to each other with their purples and golds. The bright, still warm days give way to an increasingly cool night. We are caught up in the simultaneous frenzy to bring in the harvest, revel in the last of summer, and collect around us all those things most necessary and precious to keep us company for the cold, dark months that are coming. The junior year is often called the most challenging in high school. People go on and on about how difficult the academic work is, how daunting starting to think about college or life after high school can be, and what huge personal gains you will make by getting a license, stepping into your own a bit more. And what having both more freedom and more responsibility will mean. You are balanced between the carefree life of a wise fool, a sophomore, and the deep seriousness of seniors. Use this year to both rejoice in your life now and to look joyfully forward toward the life that will be. Something like putting up tomatoes that you might taste August in the depths of February. This is Song for Autumn by Mary Oliver. Don't you imagine the leaves dream now how comfortable it will be to touch the earth instead of the nothingness of the air and the endless freshets of wind? And don't you think the trees, especially those with mossy hollows, are beginning to look for the birds that will come, 6, a dozen, to sleep inside their bodies? And don't you hear the goldenrod whispering goodbye, the everlasting being crowned with the first tuffets of snow? The pond stiffens, and the white field over which the fox runs so quickly brings out its long blue shadows. The wind wags its many tails, and in the evening, the piled firewood shifts a little, longing to be on its way. Have a wonderful day.
There they are. Hello, seniors. I'm Beth Robbins. I teach English, and I direct the spring play. This is the beginning of your final year of high school, obviously. It's a year of consolidation, introspection, and reflection. You'll study zoology and evolution, revolution, architecture, calculus, German or Spanish, English. You know what you're taking. You might play sports, you'll ski or snowboard, maybe you'll perform with Shakespeare and Company. You'll study, write, revise, write some more, calculate, dream, look ahead, apply to colleges, spend time with your classmates, laugh. You'll learn that a foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds. Hopefully, you'll be inspired by Henry David Thoreau and try and live authentic lives. You could also view today as the beginning of your hero's journey. The classic hero relies only on themselves ultimately, but also recognizes the helpers that surround them and accepts the gifts offered. The hero to be might pack a knapsack with all that they need and head off to places unknown. Joseph Campbell described the hero's journey as a call to adventure. The hero, you, begin in a situation of normality, attending this assembly today at school, for example, from which some information is received that acts as a call to head off into the unknown. The call of adventure, Campbell writes, is to, quote, a forest, a kingdom, underground, beneath the waves or above the sky, a secret island, lofty mountaintop, or profound dream state. But it's always a place of strangely fluid and polymorphous beings, unimaginable torments, superhuman deeds, and impossible delight. The adventure may begin as a mere blunder, or still again, one may be only casually strolling when some passing phenomenon catches the wandering eye and lures one, you, away from the frequented paths. I wish you great joy as you begin your own hero's journeys, eyes open for the paths less traveled. Welcome to 12th grade.
As the school year has started, here we go. So I'm going to ask my colleagues to join me again, and I'm going to ask the students to rise. We all learn a Robert Frost poem together that we'll say. If you don't know it, don't say it. You'll learn it fast enough. And then we end the morning meeting every day with the verse for Rudolph Steiner. So we're going to do that now. Choose Something Like a Star by Robert Frost.
O star, the fairest one in sight, we grant your loftiness the right to some obscurity of cloud. It will not do to say of night, since dark is what brings out your light. Some mystery becomes the crowd. But to be wholly taciturn in your reserve is not allowed. Say something to us we can learn by heart, and when alone repeat. Say something, and it says I burn. But say with what degree of heat. Talk Fahrenheit, talk centigrade. Use language we can comprehend. Tell us what elements you blend. It gives us strangely little aid, but does something in the end. And steadfast as Keats' eremite, not even stooping from its sphere, it asks a little of us here. It asks of us a certain height. So when at times the mob is swayed to carry praise or blame too far, we may choose something like a star to stay our minds on and be stayed.
Nice.
I look into the world in which the sun is shining, in which the stars are sparkling, in which the stones repose, where living plants are growing, where sentient beasts are living, where we soul-gifted give the spirit a dwelling place. I look into the soul that lives within my being. The world creator moves in sunlight and in soul light, in wide world space without, in soul depths here within. To thee, creator spirit, I will now turn my heart to ask that strength and blessing to learn and work may grow within my inmost being.
So before we end, I also want to introduce, well, I guess the teachers who didn't speak to classes this morning. We rotate, and there are only 4 can speak because we only have 4 classes. So would you introduce yourselves, just name and what you teach? Bob?
Yeah, I'm Bob Handenmatten, and I teach calculus and algebra 2, and I'll be teaching physics also.
Andrea Goodman, and I'm going to be working with the choir after school on Wednesdays, or part of school day, or 5:30. Thank you.
Ed Hamrath, German, history, and sometimes music.
Great. So thank you all for coming. Yeah.
One
Announcements.
an administrative note. If you have not yet submitted your HIROC paperwork, as many of you have not, I invite you to join me in the office where I can supply you with that paperwork and you can fill it out. They really require it of us, so thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Here's some great